What's the most expensive thing someone has stolen from you? I keep thousands of bees in my backyard here in Oregon, which I know sounds absolutely crazy, but it's completely legal, and I follow all the state regulations. I've been doing this for 3 years and never had any problems with neighbors or anyone else in the community. Last month, I went out of town for a 4-day work conference. While I was gone, some local kids apparently decided to mess around with my beehives for entertainment. My neighbor caught them on his security camera knocking over one of my main hives around sunset, which sent thousands of bees swarming everywhere in complete chaos. My neighbor immediately started filming the aftermath because he'd never seen anything like it in his life. Thousands of bees were flying around frantically, trying to figure out where their home went and what had happened to their colony. They eventually clustered together on the fence between my yard and the adjacent city park, forming this massive buzzing ball of insects that was honestly pretty incredible to see. Another neighbor thought this was fascinating and posted multiple pictures on Facebook of the bee swarm with captions like "Nature is amazing" and "Look what's happening in our neighborhood right now." The post got shared around our local community groups pretty quickly and started getting lots of comments and reactions. Within a few hours, some woman in her 50s showed up with professional beekeeping equipment and started collecting my bees like she owned them. Both of my neighbors approached her and explained exactly what had happened earlier that day. They told her the bees came from my knocked-over hive that was literally 50 feet away and clearly visible from where she was standing. They even pointed directly at the destroyed hive structure. Her response was completely shocking and dismissive. Finders keepers. She refused to take my contact information when my neighbors offered it, refused to wait for me to get back from my trip, and just loaded up my entire colony of bees into her professional equipment like she'd planned this whole thing. When I got home 2 days later, I immediately found her through Facebook since her profile was visible on the community post comments where she'd been arguing with people about bee ownership. I sent her a polite message explaining that those were my bees and asking if we could arrange to get them back. I offered to pay her for her time and effort in collecting them, plus compensation for any equipment she'd used. She read my message within an hour and immediately blocked me on Facebook. No response, no negotiation, no acknowledgement whatsoever. I filed a police report the next morning since a single healthy hive is worth about $800, not counting the honey production I'll lose this season, or the cost of replacing everything from scratch. The responding officer told me this actually falls under felony theft since the value exceeds the state threshold, but the woman is completely refusing to cooperate with their investigation, or even speak to them at all. The most frustrating part is that I have video evidence of the bees coming from my property, multiple witnesses who told her exactly where they came from, and documentation of my beekeeping registration with the state agriculture department. She literally watched my neighbors point to my destroyed hive while she was stealing my bees and chose to ignore all of it. I've reached out to the Oregon State Beekeepers Association, and they told me this kind of theft is becoming more common as bee colonies become more valuable due to widespread pollinator decline. Apparently, some people think that swarming bees are just free and don't belong to anyone, even when the source hive is obvious and people are telling them who owns the bees. The police investigation is ongoing, but I'm honestly not optimistic about getting my bees back at this point. She's had them for over a month now and probably integrated them into her own operation or sold them to someone else. Even if we somehow recover them, there's no way to prove which specific bees are mine versus hers at this stage. What makes this worse is that I spent 2 years carefully building up that particular colony from a small starter group. They were excellent honey producers and had survived multiple harsh Oregon winters, which isn't always easy for bee colonies in this climate. Now I have to start completely over with newbies that might not adapt as well to the local conditions and flowering patterns. My neighbors feel terrible about the whole situation since they witnessed everything, but couldn't physically stop her from taking the bees. They've been incredibly supportive throughout the police investigation and offered to testify if this goes to court, which it probably will at this point. The woman's finders keepers attitude is what really gets me the most. These weren't wild bees that just happened to land on the fence randomly. They were clearly displaced domestic bees from an obvious source that multiple people pointed out to her in real time. She knew exactly what she was doing and chose to steal them anyway.